there have been almost no deliveries of medicine and surgical equipment because the Assad regime removed them from the UN's humanitarian convoys. The convoy that made it to eastern Ghouta on March 5th had to navigate around constant regime airstrikes. The bombing was so severe that the UN could barely unload the food the trucks were carrying. And in the past 16 days, there have been 3 separate allegations of chlorine gas attacks. This is no ceasefire. This is the Assad regime, Iran, and Russia continuing to wage war against their political opponents. And there's another reason we know the Syrians and Russians never intended to implement the ceasefire. Because they planned for it. Over the past 2 weeks, the Russian and Syrian regimes have been busy labeling every opposition group in eastern Ghouta a, quote, terrorist group. Why? So they can exploit a provision in the ceasefire resolution that allows for military operations against ISIS and al-Qaeda. There are terrorists in Syria, but the Russian and Syrian regime label anyone as terrorists who resist their absolute control. In the eyes of Russia, Iran, and Assad, the neighborhoods of eastern Ghouta are full of terrorists. The hospitals are full of terrorists. The schools are full of terrorists. The Syrian and Russian regimes insist that they are targeting terrorists, but their bombs and artillery continue to fall on hospitals and schools and on innocent civilians. They have deliberately and with premeditation exploited a loophole they negotiated in the ceasefire to continue starving and pummeling hundreds of thousands of innocent Syrian civilians. They have made a mockery of this process and this institution. For the sake of the Syrian people and the integrity of this council, we must respond and take action.